Good evening, and I'm very, very glad to be here with you. Very excited to have beat Ben to his game here and proved him wrong. This was very, very exciting for us. Hold on. I can go on. Anyways, we bought a house that was built in 1966. So you're very traditional with lots of walls and not much insulation, nothing, very exciting about it. And we've taken it to net zero just recently. So this is very exciting. So in 1995, we bought the house. We had an inspector go through the whole thing and didn't find anything major, except for that sunroom that you see on the bottom left, little blue room there. That was on stilts. It was built on stilts, literally. They had built a patio and then put a room at the end, which didn't have any proper ventilation. It was right on the ground. So that wasn't very good. We got smells and all kinds of stuff from there. And then he asked also that, he told us that the vent from the bathrooms were just laid in the attic and they were not connected to the outside at all. So there was moisture in there and so on and so forth. Noticed too that there wasn't that much insulation at the time, like it could have been better. So the second thing we did, so we fixed the sunroom. Guy went underneath and dug out, like literally with a spoon, the dirt so that we could insulate a little bit under that room and put some rocks and so on to make the air circulate. We did install an air exchanger. One of the houses we had previously was a new house, and that was something that was offered to us, and we thought it was a great idea. So when we got into this one, the previous owners had dogs and cats, and we're allergic to those, so that wasn't very good. So we eliminated the carpets and put the air exchanger, and had ducts cleaned and all that, and it went very good. So over time, the big thing we did was insulate the attic. Then we replaced doors and some windows as well. Some of the windows that were there, especially at the back of the house, were all glass on glass, so not the best. And we insulated even like the power outlets and all those little things so that we could have no air coming in, so no leaks. And replace lights, of course, appliances, so furnace, water heater. Air conditioning as well, so anything with, and even stove and stuff like that we, over the years, replaced to more efficient things as well, so that made a difference. So came summer of 2015, and we were retired, and we're looking at the house going, wow, that's a big house, and do we need it, or do we want to move to something smaller, build something maybe, or go into a small condo somewhere? But we had a perfect location with a big backyard and we're close to everything. So we decided to first, there was a microfit program from the government, so we said, hey, let's put some solar panels. So we started with that. Of course, we had to take some trees down that were not in the right place anyways. They were way too big for what they should have been. And also replacing the roof, because we didn't want to have, the roof wasn't that old, but still, we didn't want to have to change it after 5 years or 10 years. So we replaced with a 50-year warranted fiberglass tiles instead. So that made a big difference. So solar panels, want to talk about those?
So the solar panels we installed is a 10 megawatt capacity. Generally over the last 9 years that we've operated them, they've generated between 9 and 10 megawatts over the years. So they perform pretty much as expected. To date, they've generated $34,000 in the last 9 years, so that's $3,777 per year. Good payback, highly guarantee it. So the sun's there every single day, really good.
So 20 years since our first fix-up of that sunroom, it started to move, literally, like the walls were caving in and so on and so forth. So it was time to do something about it. So we started making plans. So the first thing we tried finding an architect, and just happened that a new person in town in Kitchener that I met, and this young lady just, oh, she's right there, stand up please. She is our friend Carol. So we met just singing together, and she says, well, I'm in town, I'm new, and I'm looking for a job. I have been working up north, And now that I'm here, I wanted to start on my own, and I'm looking for customers. And I said, okay, let's sit down and let's talk. And that's the best thing we ever did. I'm still very grateful. Thank you. So we had a lot of talks, definitely. It took us a long, long time to figure it out. She sat with us, listened to what we wanted, and then made sense of it, because that was not very practical, obviously. The biggest thing we had was that we didn't have enough light. And if you look at the small windows at the back of the house, even though there's a sunroom, there's a principle I didn't understand, is that you put a building in front of the light, it still is a building no matter how many lights you put into it. So it was always dark in the morning and stuff, and it was just driving me insane. And we thought, hey, let's put a sunroom, let's fix that one, and then make it all the way out. So that will be nice, it'll be all nice and bright. Well, not very practical either, because in the summer, it's the south side, it would have been just horribly hot and so on. So we went from those discussions. She says, why don't you move it west of the house? Then you'll have lots of light and it won't be so hot. And then you can use that new sunroom to block some of the end of the day really hot sun. So that's one of the things that went into our plans. And while we did this, she says, well, let's redo the inside to make it a little bit bigger instead of moving a wall out and having all this. There's this construction things too, apparently. Moving walls, especially exterior walls. So that's how we did a whole lot of, we went to seminars together, we went to Reap House, we went to all kinds of places. We read so many articles about passive houses and so on and so forth, trying to find some information, things we didn't know. And we, started meeting and changing plans and redoing plans and so on and so forth. One thing that we did, Guy, if you want to go to the next one, we went, for example, Guy and I went to the Homer Watson House and Gallery in Kitchener, and there was this huge room inside. You can see it from the outside. There's, this extension on the roof, and you can tell probably, I don't know if you can see it, but there are darker bricks on the side too, because they had closed the windows from there. Of course, they wanted to hang paintings, and they didn't want to have the sun right on those paintings either. So those little clear story windows at the top were a good way to go. So we walked into that room, and the first thing we noticed is the light on the ceiling and that diffuse light over the, over the whole room, and thought, wow, this is amazing. Hey, maybe that's something we can put on our plan. So that went into, you can see the ceiling on the top right. That's our new addition, and that's what it looks like inside in the morning. So you get all that nice light and so on. So that's a nice place to have breakfast. And the plants love it. And you can see at the bottom, we also added, and that just was an idea we had, to put those, they call them brise-soleil, but I don't know what's the other, they're not louvers or whatever, but they're horizontal. You can see them sometimes in big buildings to cut the light. Well, we made ours, we had them reverse engineer them so that it would actually take the light and bounce it into the room as well. So that helps as well to get some of the light inside. So that was that. So we were at the point where we needed a builder. So that was another interesting, that one will be better. So we had a few people come in, I think 3 of them. One thing that Carol and us were looking for, how are we going to do that roof on that addition? We had issues with slanting it this way or that way or to the front. And finally, this one guy comes in and he says, well, why do you want to slant it? Make it a flat roof. And we had to chuckle and laugh, going, yeah, right. Flat roof in the winter, we're in Canada. And then he says, well, it won't be so bad if you put a green roof on it. And we went, oh. So that's what we did. So that is a flat roof, and you can see me gardening in the spring in it, because I have to, make sure there's no trees going in there. But otherwise, it's self-sufficient. It does its own thing, and all summer long we have flowers at different periods and so on, and they're all natives, and that was, an amazing thing. So out of the companies that came in, of course, Ben came in, and Ben can, just woo anybody, I think. And he made some suggestions, listened to what we wanted as well, and of course told us that we would not achieve the net zero, but we went, well, at least if we can get close to it, that'll be fantastic. So you can see it at different stages. We were, removing, breaking stuff, and so on and so forth. Oh, and the bottom corner on the right, that was our arrangements for 4 months. So when you find a builder, you have to make sure that it's one that you can live with, literally. And, people like Guelph were just amazing. They just, were very respectful of the fact that we lived on site. Living on a construction site is a little different, but it worked out fantastically. And slowly it took shape. So the first one is our little addition. The other one is the kitchen, and see those huge windows, and that's amazing. And then you have the countertops going in. So now it feels like when I'm cooking, I feel like I'm right back in the garden there, and it's fantastic. And that's a copy of our plans from the architect. There's all kinds of markings on it because we went back and forth and did all kinds of stuff, and we marked them, really well. So there you go, Guy, your turn.
Yes. So here you see the finished sunroom. The finished sunroom, the two things I want to bring to your attention, you may have seen for sure other places, that the window here is darker than the window on the east side. It's intentional. It's a different type of gas that was in there, and that was a recommendation of the constructor that we use a different type of gas, so it was insulated properly for facing south, and the ones facing east have a different property, and they need to be different. Also, you'll notice this is the west wall here, and there's very small windows, and that's the recommendation of our architect, to protect from the west sun on the summertime, which will be extremely hot. So yes, there's light coming in. As you saw, the room is very, very bright, but it doesn't generate an enormous amount of heat in the summertime because of that, of the location. So that was very useful. Next slide. Oops, one too much. So after we finished making all those changes and make it, so that that we could walk with walkers and all sorts of little details that we'll bore you with after over a coffee, I got fed up waiting for government grants for a heat pump. And I basically said, okay, we're installing one, end of story. So we bought the best one we could find. It was a minus 20 degrees C capable heat pump with an electric furnace. So we disconnected the gas, capped the gas. There's no gas in the house anymore. And it performs very well. It's been heating the house 99% of the time. That 1% still left. Sometimes when we get that minus 25, minus 30 night, the electric furnace will kick in. Trust me, it's worth every penny. It really, really works well. The heat pump is a God-save. And then the following year, basically decided, well, the basement hasn't been redone in 40 years. So you can imagine how it was. It was an old type of wood, no insulation, nothing. And said, yeah, we're retired, why don't we do that ourselves? Started looking into it, started pulling it apart, and we went, nah, this is a job for Ben. So we got Ben, they insulated it, they did wonderful work, and then refinishing the whole basement, re-insulated everywhere. The basement went from being the coldest place in the house in the wintertime to being the warmest place in the house. How warm was it? Well, we had to insulate, because they did that through COVID, so the walkway into the basement was all isolated from the rest of the house. When they finished, we noticed that the key to the fireplace was open. But we had, at the recommendation of Ben, put a ball in that fireplace so the air wouldn't escape. But we found the ball in the fireplace. They had opened the fireplace to reduce the heat because we were heating up the house for ourselves to be comfortable, but there was so much heat generated downstairs that the poor builders that were there were overheating. So they did that, and no, it is a very, very warm space now. Excellent space. Here you see the following winter, we basically insulated the master bedroom closet. The big reason was it's the side of the bed that I sleep, and it was the cold, cold closet. Don't know why, we never figured out why, but it was always extremely cold. So the first 4 feet of that closet going into the bedroom, we've basically insulated, and now it is comfortable. Can't say it's warm, but it's comfortable. Next slide, please. Now, the big project. Notice we had put solar panels on the south side of the house. Reasonable. Now we wanted to put more solar panels, and we wanted to put them again on the south side to over some of the plants, put some vertical solar panels. And we brought in 2 companies to bid and explain how they would do it. Both of them came back, "Are you nuts? Put it on the north side." And we went, "Okay, north side, that doesn't work." Said, "Yes, it does. You'll get 80% of the irradiation you would get otherwise, and it'll be just about equal to what you're getting on the south side because the solar panels are much more efficient than they used to be." So we followed their advice. And we had a grant from the Canada Green Year program. We put in 21 panels, 10.5 megawatt of power as of October 2024. And we expect 80% performance. And what we've seen up to now is pretty much it, except for January and February when it was covered with 3 to 4 feet of snow. But outside that, they perform extremely well. Notice the snow guard here. Very important little detail as to our great surprise, and I've never seen that on the other side. When snow fell off on the other side, it always fell off by 3-4 feet chunks. This entire panels, the whole roof, went off in one thing on one night and slid down entirely, destroying the beautiful edge that we have there. But anybody who would have been there would have been killed. So the snow guards are very, very critical. Next. Okay. And then, what did we get? Well, when we finish installing the solar panels, of course you have to have a blow door test, right? It's very useful for solar panels installation to see if they work. But to our surprise, we found that their analysis says that we use 73 gigajoules of power. We actually produce 84 gigajoule. We're not only net zero, we're net positive. Pretty cool. Next. So, Ben is doable. Okay, a couple of lessons learned. I'll let you read through them, but I'll just highlight the key ones. Find a good architect builder, of course. Mock up the space with masking tape and measure, double check everything. We literally went through the house with masking tape everywhere, vertically, horizontally, to see how it would look. And we found some of the things that, nah, we wanted 6 inches this way. Peanuts, told Ben, 6 inches that way. Ben, yeah, sure, of course, whatever. Right? But had we done that later? Ooh, expensive. Right? So that's a little thing we learned that was very useful. Committing to an open house takes away all the nosy neighbor from coming into the construction site. If you tell them it's going to be an open house, we'll see everything when it's finished. We'll invite you in. And the builders and everybody that help get to meet all those people. Win-win. The other thing I want to bring to your attention, the heat pump really, really works well. Except for one thing that we learned, and that's only because we happen to have readouts minute per minute of how much power it actually uses. For 2 to 3 minutes, when it's below 0 degrees, every 3 to 4 hours, it will use 15 to 20 kilowatts for that amount of time. So if you're putting in batteries or another backup system, your system has to be able to peak at over 20 kilowatts. Otherwise, it will clunk out. So that's a little learning that was new to everybody. Johanne, we put the next one. Next slide. Okay, so I'll tell you some of the regrets, which is the next slide. One of them is as we put insulation in the attic, we found that it was great, but nobody mentioned that we should have put in pieces of roof resistant to hold it together in case of high winds. It's very common in the US to do that. We should have done that because here now will be high winds, whether we like it or not. To retrofit that with 24 inches of insulation. Any volunteers? Yeah, I thought so. So that's something that we should have done. Now that we know, you should have, you have to do that. We didn't do an air tightness test. We should have in 2020. There's a few little knickknacks that we would have found otherwise. When we removed we had the gas basically meter remove. We did not insist that they remove the pipe. And now we will insist this spring that we remove the pipe. Let's see how successful I am to do that. When we did the renovation in the basement, we had the opportunity to put a much more efficient fireplace. I think it would have been prudent to do that. That's one of the wishes I would have. Next slide, Johanne. No, oh, you're not getting, okay. The other little neat thing we did with the Canada Green program, we put a 30 kilowatt battery system. I don't want to cover this today. Come catch me after the meeting. We'll tell you all about it. But it did not make the house more energy efficient, but it's available. Next slide, Johanne, please. It's an important slide. The last slide, please. Thank you. Okay, it takes a village to build this. We didn't do this by our own. These are the names of all the people who helped us over the years to do that. And I thought it was important to recognize everybody that helped us do this. And I want to thank them for all their patience with me, because I am a project manager. I am extremely detail-oriented, as some people would say. And I'm very hard to shut up, as you can see.
I was just going to say, yes, you're difficult to shut up. Thank you. And thank you to all of you. I see all those. I'm looking forward to all your talks, and I thank you for keeping on researching and doing better and better. It's making such a difference. Thank you.